se asi uvedu sám. Tak jo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to introduce you our regular speaker, who is creator, founder of Freeland, probably the only Freeland in the world, LIBERLAND. Jedlička. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Pavel. And I would say this Congress is somehow special because unlike years before, when I hear all these lectures and Radim, for example, that was a great speech. I'm always, or Smuggler, I always almost hear like they're talking about what we're doing in a way, and they're giving us the kind of preparation or ideological background. And of course, LIBERLAND, if you were here for the previous lecture, is we are work in progress on alternative legal system. LIBERLAND, we were basically portrayed as the best tax haven in the world by the mainstream media, and they constantly portrayed us as such. But the idea of LIBERLAND is it's much broader. We really want to make a heaven rather than haven, if you can distinguish the difference between these two words. I don't want people to hide in LIBERLAND, neither criminals or black money or any kind of shadow economy. I would really like people to come there and enjoy as much freedom as possible. When we founded LIBERLAND, we knew that the voluntarism is something that has to be introduced into the relation between the citizen and the state. A completely open relation in which you can, again, opt in and opt out of the relation. And that we need more competition between existing states in order to build a freer planet. That nothing actually, a part of competition, works. If there was not a Monaco on the borders of France, you would see taxes probably a couple % higher. If there was no Liechtenstein in Switzerland, we might see a taxes in Switzerland much higher. And of course, if there was no Switzerland in the EU, we would probably see much bigger tax hell in the EU itself. So we were reasoning like that, and we were thinking, why don't we have more freer places like these small republics or small monarchies that are making possible for you to enjoy a rather free environment? And why don't we go to the extreme that we really turn the relation from an obligatory relation, from the social contract, into a completely voluntary interaction between a citizen and the state? So we founded LIBERLAND on 13th of April 2015, and that was a special day because it was 272nd birthday of Thomas Jefferson. And we wanted to pay tribute to the founders of the United States, that they did a great job in defining what the government should do. And let me just read this quote: "A wise man and frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another, which shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from mouth of labor the bread it has earned." Of course, the government should be minimal as possible. We decided to limit the LIBERLAND government to take care only of justice, security, and diplomacy, and nothing a part of that. We have decided to take the best elements out of the US Constitution and incorporate them in our Constitution. And the work is still in progress. You can read the last draft of LIBERLAND Constitution. Now there is a nice new addition to it, which was actually done in cooperation with some people here close to Paraelnipolis. I've got a couple copies here, and if you would like to be part of that inner team, it's going to be soon on GitHub as well. And we are trying to base a system on property rights, in which the property rights are the key element from which all other logics in the Constitution are stemming from. So we've got a system of republics. That's something that was proven for now, let's say, 250 years as a very good system of running the state. But we know that it decays over the time. We've got elements of democracy in which basically half of citizens can veto any kind of decision. And we are putting into the elements of the meritocracy, so meaning that Liberlanders are also the shareholders of the state that they're living in. Meaning, the more taxes you pay in Liberland, the bigger is your say. And we are putting it on top of the centralized autonomous organization, which means we are partnering with the best companies out there that are working on this right now with DAOstack to put the whole governance model on blockchain. If you want, of course, to read more about this, Liberland Publishing has recently published an open source government book 1, The End, The Fall of the Political Class. It's a trilogy, and it gives what we are doing a deeper insight. But what do you need to have a country? And I bet many of you guys actually were thinking about starting a country. And when we started Liberland, we were looking into what are those elements that are necessary to start it. You need a population, you need a defined territory, you need a government and a capacity to enter into relations with other states. Let me show you how much Liberland is fulfilling these criteria by now. And by the way, if you want to read more about it, you can read the Chicago Journal of International Law. There is a 35-page study, a completely neutral study done by this very prestigious institution. Now we've got 550,000 people that registered on our website. We consider these people e-residents of Liberland, and we will soon issue them the e-residency cards. We've got 205,000 eligible applications, and that is growing quite fast these days. I think it's like 300 to 500 people a day. We've got 1,017 people that indicated that they want to start a business in Liberland, and that would already make us a nice powerhouse in terms of business incorporation. We've got defined territory. That piece of land was unclaimed for more than 26 years when we claimed it by any foreign government, and we are still the only entity that claim it. Despite Croatia now telling us, we are not completely happy with your existence, we are still not having a direct dispute with any sovereign state. And Serbia, on the other hand, was very nice to us. They told us, we don't mind creation of Liberland, it was not formed on our territory, and that aspect was kind of indirect recognition. We got an amazing amount of professionals that applied for citizenship. If you look into the database, the amount of lawyers and experts in different fields is great. But I think the strongest community that was developed so far are architects. And they got together when Liberland started and they said, we're going to make a competition, how Liberland should look like. And Zaha Hadid, I think many of you might know them, is one of the most famous architectural studios in the world, organized that competition. And we had some 70 architectural studios that applied to be part of that competition, and we had very nice results how Liberland could be developed. That was a proposal by a team from Harvard University, for example, which really took in consideration the local ecosystem and how the place could be developed. I think it's a little bit overpopulated, but if you consider that we've got 500,000 people that would like to live there, this is probably only 120,000. This is a similar density like Monaco, so it would be quite hard to fit it there. If everybody would like to live, that applied for citizenship so far would be living in there, we would be 3 times more overpopulated than the most overpopulated place on planet, which is Macau, by the way. This is how it would look in our cadastre maps, and by the way, Liberland is still the only country that has cadastre maps for this territory. And we've got some very nice futuristic proposals as well. Interestingly enough, this concept was based on these capsules And right after I found this, or I saw this, I found out that there is a company in Slovakia that actually produces them. And funnily enough, our former representative to Slovakia became the marketing manager of that company. And apparently we're more and more going into that kind of eco-friendly direction. We've got government. That's the picture from this summer when we all met in Liberland. We've got Minister of Finance, Embor Krabek, Thomas Walls, Bogi Wozniak, Vice President. And we've got some really strong supporters in Croatia, which I think is, of course, most important for us. When Liberland started, there was this party called Živi zid, headed by Ivan Pernar. And at the time, they had 4 or 5% in the parliament. But right now, they've got almost 15%. And it's great that they're with us, that they're fully supportive of what we are doing. And without them, of course, our struggle for full sovereignty and for recognition by the rest of the world would be much more dim. But I'm happy that he's not just supporter, he is also a Liberland diplomat in Croatia parliament, that he has struggled to explain to the rest of Croatia in parliament already a couple of times and explain them all the benefits that Liberland could have. And of course, Liberland, because of the nature of this border dispute between Serbia and Croatia, is the best solution for Croatia as well. Liberland's creation is actually in line with Croatia's claims for the territory. And we also are looking forward, and Kleros is one of our key partners for decentralized justice system. It's basically a system in which first 3 randomly selected jurors make some decision. If you appeal, then 6 randomly selected jurors. If you appeal, then 12. And everything is running on blockchain, on Ethereum. And I'm happy that they're willing to partner with us to build it. We've got a work group now, and we've got a meeting with them in, I think, 3 weeks from now. And I hope we will push the cooperation forward, and there will be a first pilot early next year. We've got another key partner, and you might have heard about DAO-Stack. Those are the guys that are, I would say, on the top of creation of DAOs. Liberland itself will be running as a DAO when this technology matures a bit. Our first pilot should start in 1.5 months, and it is I would say, the key cornerstone of building a trust between Liberland citizens and the government. So everybody will be able to vote using our platform, and there will be basically 2 things. You're a citizen plus you're a shareholder, and these 2 things will combine the weight of your vote. And we have this merit system, and that was there from very beginning. And everybody talks here, when you speak, these experts, that there is some need for collateral. And how merit system will work, it is not just your share in Liberland, but it's also your collateral in the justice system that you are in. So if you manage to do something wrong in Liberland, and you, according to the law, you reject to compensate for the damage that you have created, your merits are at stake. You stake your merits to become citizen and to vote in Liberland, but also it is your collateral in the justice system that we are creating. But of course, those are some of the important aspects of Liberland, but you can have a real country unless you have a beer and airline. And that's something which was created in an extraordinary way right from the beginning of Liberland. And let me just give you a little bit of update. Liberland Brewery has now expanded into Serbia. It's brewed also as Liber Beer by the Dogma. So it's kind of a flying brewery. And when I was 2 weeks ago in Novi Sad for this Hackers Congress again, we found it in the first pub that we went to. So it is well distributed in Serbia. You can also buy it here in Prague in a number of places. And of course, it is available in Liberland. We've got Liberland, which is growing, and I'm kind of excited about their idea to offer a search engine for both commercial flights and private flights, and that we've got ever-growing number of Liberlanders that, of course, become quite rich in many cases by investing in early days into crypto. Now they're buying their private jets, and it's nice that they formed an association, and they are helping Liberland to grow by helping us to travel around. We've got Pavel Karpíšek here, who is the CEO of Liberland Jobs. It's one of the companies that is pushing for usage of crypto for payments, for work. So it is one of the portals where you're expected to find somebody who will work for crypto there. And it was recently launched, and I think that it's already quite nicely used. So if you're looking for a job or you would like to advertise some job, of course, come to LIBERLAND jobs. You can incorporate your company now easily. It just takes a couple of days now, probably 2 or 3. We are doing a proper check on the background of people that are incorporating LIBERLAND companies, so that's why it takes a little bit longer. We're going to have a nice set of e-residency cards, and I can tell you that in January we will open an office also here in Prague, where it will take just a couple of minutes to get your e-residency card and to get your background check, and it will be right in the center of Prague. But LIBERLAND, of course, it's about this piece of land, but not just about it. It is a wider idea. It has attracted so many thousands of people, it's unbelievable. And they are spread all around the world. So right now we've got representative offices in more than 100 countries around the globe. And we've got also villages, the diaspora villages. It has started at the beginning of this year. They're popping up one after another. And you can see that we've got 2 places in Indonesia, 1 place in Somaliland, 1 small settlement starting in Russia, a bigger village in Norway, in Portugal, in Belize, in Panama, in Mexico. And I'm kind of excited about it because it is a nice sign that LIBERLANDers are actually a living nation, which is getting together no matter where they are on the planet, and they're building something great. We're working hard on diplomatic relations with other countries. I just came back from the United States, from US Congress. I was invited to speak at the ALEC conference, which is actually one of the biggest meetings of legislators, state legislators, congressmen, and senators. I met a lot of congressmen, a lot of senators. Of course, many of them are, let's say, liberty-leaning, but also a couple democratic senators that are very favorable to what we are doing. So I'm kind of excited that I think we have now actively 8 US congressmen supporting LIBERLAND. And we held a very nice reception, I think it was just a week ago, in Trump Hotel for these legislators. I think we had like 7 of them actually coming there, and some very, very nice guys that are helping us to get LIBERLAND recognized in the United States. I was already on official state visit to Palestine, just for a short meeting. As you can see, we exchanged the flags with the minister. It was very interesting. They actually received the first Ether. Palestinian government got one as a sign of goodwill. And we got recognized by Somaliland last year, which is, I think, extraordinary achievement for us in this early stage. We signed a bilateral agreement about cooperation in different fields. We are going to bring them the latest technology for registration of land on blockchain, the latest technology for registration of identities on blockchain. And we are also building a small village there. And I'm actually heading there directly from here. On Monday, I'm flying to Dubai, and from Dubai, I'm flying to Somaliland to continue that cooperation. And if some of you didn't know where Somaliland is, which I think at some point of the time there was much more publicity for LIBERLAND than for Somaliland. This is Somalia, or Puntland, and this is Somaliland. And unlike Somalia, actually, this is a very safe place to live in. It is, unlike Somalia, it was colonized by British, not by Italians. But somehow the rest of the world still rejects to fully recognize it as a state. Which is interesting because they've got all elements of statehood for more than 26 years. As long as LIBERLAND is unclaimed, these guys actually are running their country in a very nice way. That's our embassy there. If somebody wanted to join us for the trip, it's going to be exciting. We've got some 8 bigger names to help them in different spheres, but also some investors. So I'm hoping that we will open this on next Saturday. This is our village in Panama. It's called Agrorismo. I think it's one of the greatest places to live in, actually, with super climate. And of course, let's say Panama is a great competitor to Liberland. So no wonder that Liberland village was created there. I think it will be a vibrant community. Now they just started to sell plots, and it's affordable. I think $250,000, including a house there. There is a Liberstadt, which of course is a completely different jurisdiction, not that nice one as in Panama, but it's in the middle of Norway. Also a very nice intentional community done by Liberlanders, and it was only launched like 2 months after Liberland itself was launched. And I'm more than happy that these guys are supporting Liberland, and that most of them are, of course, Liberlanders. And then there are projects around Liberland, and I think you're the first guys to hear that we are going to have a lot of fun in Liberland next year. There will be a festival in August, in the middle of August. Our work name for it is Floating Man. But I think it's going to be a lot of interesting events, because what is happening right now, this is when you come to Liberland, we basically take you as close as we can to Liberland without inflicting conflict with Croatia. Sometimes people get to visit Liberland right now, sometimes not. But we already have a nice boat there that can host like 60 people for events. We are improving it now to Bitcoin Freedom. That's going to be parked right in front of Liberland. It should be 650 meters of space, kind of alternative space for, for really people to come and enjoy and then bring their friends, maybe make some weddings in Liberland, but also that all the groups that are connected to Liberland, like Liberland lawyers, Liberland architects, Liberland volleyball players or soccer players, they will finally have a place to go and visit Liberland and socialize. And their main task, actually beginning 13th of April this year, will be to organize a major festival in Liberland in summer. So I hope I will be able to see some of you there. It's going to be able to host some 30 people to stay permanently. There is a restaurant here, upper terrace and upper deck. Also, this is not a fully state-run project. It's a private-public partnership in which I would really like to remove the public part at all, to get rid of it and just make it a private business, one of the physical first private businesses to be located in Liberland. And also, we've got a nice project for houseboats. So, settlement is, of course, one of the key elements where we have still some things to do. So, right now, I think there are 5 investors into these houseboats. So, there will be another place for 50 people during the summer where they can stay and enjoy the time on Danube. That's the important part about settlement, but of course the IT part is one of the most important. That's why we are organizing or co-organizing a hackathon on 8th of November, which should be a major event where all the IT guys and all the programmers should get together and finalize the IT solution for Liberland. So I hope that the pilot for the DAO will be working, that the first decentralized resolution mechanism will be in place. And if you have a time, of course, you're welcome to join us on 8th of November in Israel. So as I told you, 13th of April, Liberland anniversary, 13th of August, Liberland festival, and hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot, Vít, for your interesting presentation. Questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask, what's your ideas about if some other countries start to claim the land or by force? I mean, do you have some strategies, or what might happen and what can you do about that?
Well, we're kind of lucky because Croatia puts a lot of resources to deter anybody from coming there right now. And when I say a lot of resources, I'm talking maybe like $250,000 a year extra, which would be really a burden to Liberland budget at this stage. So we sometimes semi-jokingly, but in reality it is also, they simply, when you come to Croatia from and you want to go to LIBERLAND, you will be arrested for illegal border crossing. So please don't go to LIBERLAND through Croatia. Always, talk to us. We will update you on the security situation, but just go with the boat through Danube. So right now we don't have a problem because anybody that doesn't know the situation and comes there basically gets arrested by Croatia just for coming to LIBERLAND. So we don't have any problem with anybody else coming there and claiming that piece of land.
Okay, and a question?
Hi, thanks for a really nice idea and really nice state. I just want to ask if a business wants to come into LIBERLAND, how is it? How its incorporation is being then perceived in European Union? I mean, business starts making money in LIBERLAND, pays voluntary taxes. Will it be additionally taxed in EU, or will it be considered to be a non-registered whatever business conduct? Do you have an experience with that?
Depends really on the country, and every country has a little bit different legal setup. For example, Czech Republic and Slovakia are very specific about a third country. They don't mention if the country is recognized or not in their legal system. So basically, since they don't mention it, you can assume that this is we are a third country, apparently. And of course, if the essence of your business is not based in Czech Republic, and for example is done online, there is no reason why that activity should be taxed in Czech Republic. This is really something interesting. We are kind of tied like these horses to the plastic chairs. In a way, we are thinking about these things, but of course, all these company incorporations, Seychelles, Panama, those are just concepts, right? It's not something tangible, and those are man-made rules. So what we are doing right now, we of course want to be a place for the first DAOs to be incorporated directly in some jurisdiction. That's our second goal with the DAO stack. But if you have a physical business, we've got a great opportunity for you. There is this free trade zone right opposite to LIBERLAND in Serbia. And by the way, that's kind of special, right? Because EU is kind of putting down all these special economic zones, but Serbia is still not part of EU. So we can come to LIBERLAND, you can visit LIBERLAND, and then you can come and see the free trade zone. Only 10 kilometers away from LIBERLAND, there is no VAT and no import-export tax. I think it's a really great place to make business. Whatever you are producing physically can be actually done out of that free trade zone. And right now we are in process when LIBERLANDers are trying to buy a whole piece of that free trade zone, which is a separate one, which includes shipyard. So if you are interested in that, I think that's a great opportunity, investment opportunity, because I think once it gets to be branded as a LIBERLAND free trade zone in Serbia, it's going to attract a lot of capital.
Hi, I would like to ask a similar question. Let's say that there is a company in LIBERLAND and it provides some service or product to another company based in Europe, let's say Slovakia or Czech Republic. Would the company in Europe be able to deduct their taxes based on the fact that they got the service from LIBERLAND,
Yes, well, as I'm telling you, for example, Czech and Slovakian legal system only talks about third country. We know that in Malta, the Abkhazian companies couldn't really push their invoices through Cyprus, through the Cyprus tax bureau. So it depends country to country, and the whole thing is a process, right? Some states recognize some companies, and some states don't recognize some companies from foreign states. We are at the beginning, but apparently, there were cases now where LIBERLAND invoice was accepted by state authorities in Poland without any problem. So we've got these first precedents which are happening right now. We haven't really been promoting the incorporation. You cannot go and incorporate directly from the website. We're still in testing mode, and we are pushing the boundaries further and further. But what I'm really excited about that the whole ecosystem is growing now, that we've got the first insurance company that is really interested in launching in Liberland, that the banks are willing to cooperate with Liberland because they see a large potential in terms of e-residents actually becoming their, Liberland e-residents becoming their customers. So as long as we've got a good KYC, which is backed by regular documents that actually don't have problem with opening accounts for Liberland individuals. So the whole thing is in process, and I think we're just about to launch many of these things at the beginning of next year.
Thank you.
So I personally appreciate that you started cooperation with DAO Stack, because for me, like decentralized autonomous organization is the future. I had a presentation about DAO, so this is I think this is a really good move. Any other questions? Don't hesitate and ask.
By the way, this is Jaromír Miškovský. He was there on the day one of foundation of Liberland. He's the crazy guy, but crazy enough to start with me such a state.
Yeah, especially what I personally like about Liberland is that people start thinking that like the international law and existence of state or even virtual states, everything like it's very fungible, very flexible, you know, like there are no some specific strict borders, you know, so.
Well, Liberland is kind of cool because we have all the options to explore how much can be done in the virtual space, but we also have a nice claim to piece of land, which qualifies us to fulfill all the Montevideo criteria, right? So it is kind of difficult to do a startup country, but maybe no longer, you know. I think we will see more and more countries erupting in the crypto space. Right now, I think we're a little bit slow in attracting ICOs into Liberland, but we also have two bigger ICOs coming up next year. One of them is actually energy company that will trade the energy tokens on the European exchange. So I'm really excited about a couple of these projects, and of course the ICO for the insurance company I think will be a big one. But we will see more and more jurisdictions that will be fully defined by the DAOs that they are incorporated in, and that's something where we would like to push the boundaries as well.
Okay, maybe a question. So if some people want to be Liberland citizen just now, can you describe shortly what he or she should do?
Well, of course, if you stake 5,000 merits, that's a fast track to citizenship. But if you help us for a couple of months with anything, you know, we get involved in one particular aspect of Liberland. I mean, be it the legal system, be it how the DAO should work, or just come to Liberland in summer for a couple of months and help. That's also a very good way and fast way to get citizenship. But the e-residency will be there for everybody. It is something where you just register on the website. It takes a couple of minutes. The citizenship will be a little bit prestigious thing. We're actually thinking that since there will be only 700 million tokens, the merits, that since you need to stake 5,000 merits, there will be maximum 140,000 citizens on the planet ever, limited by the technology. So it is a citizenship basically must have a value. It's not that easy to acquire citizenship in any other country. By the way, there is a new company that just launched yesterday, liberlandcitizenship.com, I think, but also doesn't only offer Liberland citizenship, it also offers St. Kitts and Nevis and Dominica. So I'm happy that, you know, the ecosystem of these companies is really growing, and that we are getting actually on the catalogs of other citizenship advisory firms. That's pretty cool that we've got now two companies that already took us among those other countries that have investments programs for citizenship by investment, for example. Anyway.
Okay, I saw some question here. Okay, question.
Hello, I would like to ask you what are, let's say, 3 biggest challenges you objectively have, or you have to do?
Well, I think there are a couple, right? And I think the biggest one is to get the systems right, because if we incorporate the DAO, there is not too many ways to change it later on. DAO will be able to alter its own code. That's one of the basic things, but it still will be quite difficult to get things right if we get them wrong at the beginning. So defining the rules, finalizing the constitution and set of basic legal codes, that's also important. And of course the relations with Croatia. I think that has the priority over everything else, to make as much friends with them as possible and basically to make them let us live, which is an important part.
Okay, another question, yes.
Thanks. Another more kind of tabloid question. How do you provide security and law enforcement there?
Well, the idea is that Liberland should be really focused on security, justice, and diplomacy. That we would not like to put our nose in any other area, and tourism being one of them. For example, I hate that we are kind of starting these things. I just wish there were more private investors that would go into it. But I think after we launch it, there will be a much more private initiative. So security is number one, right? So we've got already we actually had a couple full-time security guys. Right now, since the winter started, they are kind of on vacation. And they've got water ski. They can make sure that nobody gets drowned in Liberland. And what we are planning to do in terms of international security is offer Croatia a decent amount of money as a protection fee, basically to leave us alone. So that's part of the strategy. But internally, we're just planning to basically have a security agency, internal security agency, that will take care of making sure that people don't hurt each other there.
Another question? Okay. Oh, there was a question.
Yep, there is this Liberland residency app, which basically is a kind of a pilot for Uberizing police in Liberland. So if you want to check it out, it's on Android, and I think it will be like a 2.0 by the end of the year. So you can see all other Liberlanders around you, and you can also kind of declare emergency and ask them for help. But I was thinking that we can actually run the security in a much more efficient way than a traditional state through Uberizing it.
Okay, I have a question related to the finances. So how do you finance it all? I mean, like from like everything, like flying to Dubai and then to Somaliland and or whatever, or just...
Of course, there is enough Liberlanders, 600,000. And if every single Liberlander paid a voluntary tax of $1 a month, which is not the case by far, if you can check all the financial statements, we would not have any problems with financing a flight over to Dubai. But luckily enough, we don't have financial issues. I'm happy that we are able to pursue all the projects that we need at this stage. We will need to put together as a nation some decent amount of money on the table for Croatia so they can consider accepting that protection fee. I don't think we will be able to move without that forward at some stage.
Oh, another two questions.
Hi, just short question. Is Merit token publicly traded somewhere?
Not yet, and the whole thing actually depends on launching the DAO itself. I don't want to launch the token because it will be connected with the voting rights and with the legal system. So I don't want to launch the token before these rules are actually defined, and we are at least very close to the final definition of them. I think we are now some 90% done. We still need another month to launch the pilot, and after we launch the pilot and we will see that it successfully works, we will also make the token tradable. Luckily enough, there is a lot of Liberlanders that have crypto exchanges in the community, so I don't think there will be any problem with tradability. I think the last one is Xstar from China. That's like a decent size already crypto exchange. And I almost forgot one thing. There is another exchange being launched out of actually our embassy in Somaliland. So there will be a first crypto exchange that will be run from a sovereign soil of Liberland, and I think that will be a lot of fun. They've got some decent technology. It's not a decentralized exchange; it's a centralized one, and the key server will be placed on a recognized embassy of Liberland in Somaliland. It's kind of a symbolic thing, but I think it's an important one.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vitku, for an interesting speech. I would like to ask about car register, because you had the talk last year in here and shared some information. So if there is some actual thing about this, thank you.
Yeah, the whole thing is now in process for an update in terms of our IT. So there will be this simple IT system where you'll be able to manage all the registries at once. If it's a boat or if it's a car or if it's a property, everything will be kind of in one system. And the car registry, we've got a couple cars still driving around with Liberland plates, and amazingly enough, they didn't have a major issue. It's funnily enough, I had personally big trouble now for putting the Liberland sticker on the Czech license plate, but the guy that drives around with Liberland license plate didn't have any issue, right? It's kind of ridiculous, but that's the situation now in Czech Republic. So far, you can also get a Liberland license plate, which I think is pretty cool. You can actually get a insurance for it. That has been not fully solved, so that's, I think, the major obstacle for mass adoption, is that we still don't have an insurance company that would work with us for longer than half of the year. So then you have to basically register it back. But as long as your car is insured and has a green card, there is no problem with driving it on Liberland license plate.
Okay, another question? Okay, so it seems, and I'm happy about it, that Liberland project is moving forward. So I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you very much, Pavel.
Okay, so thank you a lot for coming here. Thank you a lot also the audience for your questions.
I've got some souvenirs if you guys want it from Liberland.
I would love the souvenir.
What is it?
I would love the souvenir. Please, go for it. How do we get the passport?